Hello, so this is my final post for musical theater appreciation, so I'm going to get right into it. The first question talks about, as a whole, the connections or relationships that I saw between the musicals that I watched for this class. So, the musicals that I watched were Falsettos, Bye Bye Birdie, Ruthless, and then Hamilton. When it came, I wrote about all of those. And I think I didn't even realize it until the end, but I chose musicals that all were comedic or more realistic in some ways. I didn't really want to sit down and watch Les Mis because, well, I've seen it before, but it's not something I wanted to delve into for a class like this. Just because I wanted to take a look at, musical theater. What makes it so unique is that this, between the songs and the acting, it's very unnatural. So those dramatic situations, I feel like they're a little bit, a little more commonplace in movies and stuff like that. And musical theater, like the lively singing, goes throughout the entire show, and that's what makes it super unique. So I wanted to delve into that a little bit more. I think that all of them had an underlying, real truth about real life, and I think that's also why I was drawn to them. Falsettos especially is, probably the most realistic of all of them. Being about a family that faces hardships. I'm pretty sure everyone can kind of get into that, despite the gay themes, family, whatever. And same with Hamilton, even though it's a little bit more, it's harder to, relate to something like that, but, you go to the ending, who lives, who dies, who tells your story. I mean, that's something that anyone can get into and anything can feel. Anyone can feel, something towards that. Everyone lives their life. Everyone has a story. That's something a lot of people can, empathize with. And then you get into something like Ruthless, which is, kind of opposite in that way. It's more satirical, but I read in a review, it's in light of, pageant queens. It's not even so far out there, kids and, fame, especially in this career path that I'm in, BA in theater. I'm like, well, this is my life. So, not really. So, just characters that have real issues that are presented in a really, fun way, musically, that's, a lot more entertaining to watch. I think something else that drew me to all of those musicals that, connected them all together were some strong female characters. Again, going not with Les Mis, there's a lot of girls in that show too, but I'm just so familiar with the, the male heavy kind of thing. And, Falsettos is male heavy too, but you have the wife and her song Breaking Down, and the Schuyler sisters in Hamilton, Kim in Bye Bye Birdie, the little girl in Ruthless. It's just super inspiring to see those women in so many different roles, being women in so many different eras of time and in different settings. I think it's super inspiring and definitely challenges me as a woman actress, as to how many challenges and scenarios and characters there are to play. So I think that was another really cool underlying thing, that they all had the strong female characters. Watching these musicals in this period of time, I've never been one of the theater kids who spends all their time watching musicals or listening to soundtracks. It's just kind of not who I am. But I think this class gave me a wonderful chance at being that person, and I was shocked, again and again. I guess I just never have it in me to, sit down and watch a musical, because I'm always doing that anyway. I'm always in rehearsal or something like that. But I found that they were like a lot closer to like the feelings of going to see live theater or watching a movie. I got invested, just as quickly and was just as entertained by the end. With Ruthless, I was just like throughout the entire thing, I was like what next? I was shocked at myself to how much I enjoyed sitting down and watching a musical like it was a movie. It never felt like work, and I was surprised as to how entertained I was each time, just because it was something I was not really used to doing. And then intersecting with other forms of performance, I think some of the stories felt a bit distant. Again, touching on like the real life themes, like Hamilton, it was a little bit harder to get into. It's more of an entertaining, like, oh, haha, there's the king. There's lots of. It's more representational, more informative of history. But then you get into, I think Bye Bye Birdie had some of the most like realistic, relatable themes for me. Like watching it now in this time, even though that's one of like the older musicals of the bunch that I watched, just being a teen girl and reliving some of that, even though it was heavily dramatized and exaggerated, them being fanatics, but in a way it was relatable. Going back to when I was however old and boy bands were a thing, it all felt very going back in time and watching it in front of me. So I think watching them right now, in terms of like life lessons, I was certainly like, or life interests and lessons, I was certainly brought back to that time, and ideas that I wanted to keep in mind. As for culture, past and present, I'm gonna kind of go back to, you have Bye Bye Birdie, first in the timeline, and then you're going down and you have Ruthless, and then you have more contemporary falsettos, and then Hamilton. And to me, it says that theater goers are hungry for a change in what we're seeing. Bye Bye Birdie is primarily, it's very like, uppity music, which is, the genre it is, but, it's mostly, white roles doing mostly uppity or your typical ballad songs. It's not very out there. And then you have Hamilton, which is a complete switch. It's a musical that's based on hip hop and rap and has actors of color, which could not have been done. Lin-Manuel Miranda would have been like, well, Hamilton and Burr, they were white dudes, so we're gonna get white dudes. But it doesn't make sense technically to have white dudes do rap when you have a whole culture, a whole population of people who have who it's their skill. So it's more inclusive, and I think that's what theater is heading toward. And I think Hamilton certainly drew that line and shows just how far it's coming, and it makes me excited for the next 10-20 years of theater and like the kind of music that's going to be put out there, and how abstract it's going to get now that more people, it's accepted and exciting for people to be in it and be casted in those types of things. So I think overall it's all headed in a really exciting direction. I'm super glad I got to take this course and get to take a look at these themes and definitely get a closer look at where it's all heading, because it was something I didn't really understand before. So I'm glad I had a great class, and thank you.